Sidney Gottlieb remains one of the most mysterious, disturbing, and fascinating figures in American history, a man whose name stayed hidden for decades behind the secret walls of the CIA, yet whose actions permanently shaped the world of modern intelligence, to the point that some still call him the Black Sorcerer, the Dark Sorcerer of the CIA, or the Poisoner-in-Chief, the chief poison maker of the American government. Born in 1918 to modest Hungarian Jewish immigrant parents, he grew up in a simple environment marked by effort and discipline, and from childhood he showed a complex personality, solitary, intelligent, but constantly struggling with his own body, because he suffered from a severe stutter, a handicap that isolated him, pushing him to spend hours reading, experimenting, and thinking. Many say this stutter shaped him deeply. A child who could not speak easily but who observed, analyzed, and imagined what others did not see. He loved taking things apart, mixing substances, creating improvised potions that sometimes amused his family but also worried neighbors when he caused small explosions in the garden using chemicals found on the family farm. A brilliant student, Gottlieb became an exceptional chemist, a mind drawn to the invisible boundaries of human consciousness. At university, he remained reserved, strange at times, highly disciplined, often walking barefoot on campus as a sign of inner freedom, fascinated by nature and simplicity while simultaneously attracted by what science could uncover in forbidden zones. When he joined the CIA in the 1950s, the United States was deep in Cold War paranoia, convinced that the Soviet Union was developing mind control as a weapon. This fear gave birth to one of the darkest projects in American government history, mkultra, and Gottlieb, calm, smiling, almost gentle in appearance, was chosen to lead it, a contrast that puzzled even his colleagues. Under his direction, mkultra became a program without limits, a universe where science, ethics, morality, and the law ceased to exist, where everything could be tested, where every excess was allowed, where the obsession with breaking, rebuilding, manipulating, and reshaping the human mind became a quasi-mystical quest. Gottlieb ordered LSD to be administered to CIA agents, soldiers, prisoners, and patients, often without their consent, convinced that the path to mental control required exploring altered states of consciousness. He funded experiments in universities, psychiatric hospitals, and even in secret CIA safe houses used as brothels where recruited sex workers drugged unsuspecting clients who were then observed through one-way mirrors. His clinical coldness during experiments contrasted completely with his private life, where he meditated, practiced yoga, built cabins, dressed simply, lived close to nature, and rejected luxury. This fascinating, almost schizophrenic contrast still puzzles historians today. How could a man who milked goats in the morning or made homemade yogurt spend his afternoons creating poisons designed to secretly assassinate enemies of the state? His love life was also dual-faced. Gottlieb was married to Margaret Moore, a gentle woman, an artist, and a pacifist. Their couple lived according to simple, almost hippie values, sometimes staying in rural communities, traveling in an old van, cultivating the land, dancing barefoot. At home, Gottlieb was calm, respectful, almost silent, loving poetry, meditation, and Indian religious chants. Yet every morning he went to work in one of the most secret laboratories in the country, where he supervised the creation of biological weapons, undetectable toxins, experimental drugs, and psychological torture techniques. His involvement in the death of Frank Olson remains one of the darkest eras of his story. Olson, a CIA scientist, was given LSD without his knowledge during a meeting organized by Gottlieb. A few days later, in a state of mental terror, Olson fell or was pushed from the 13th floor of a New York hotel. Officially, it was a suicide, but many believe it was a staged murder meant to protect mkultra. Gottlieb remained silent about the incident for the rest of his life, strengthening the dark legends surrounding him. In 1973, when he left the CIA, he ordered the massive destruction of mkultra archives, erasing thousands of pages detailing the most extreme experiments of the program. This act made him the guardian of a truth no one would ever fully know. In 1975, when the program was exposed to the public, the nation was horrified to discover experiments conducted on children, patients, students, prisoners, and ordinary citizens. Yet Gottlieb was never prosecuted, never convicted, and spent the rest of his life doing humanitarian work, building houses for the poor, caring for the sick, and living in extreme simplicity. His final years were marked by silence, meditation, and near total solitude. He died in 1999 under strange circumstances, officially from heart failure, but some believe his death might not have been natural, as Gottlieb carried secrets many would never want revealed. Today, Sidney Gottlieb remains a living paradox, a gentle man responsible for psychological torture, an ecological pacifist yet a creator of biological weapons, a modern monk yet a clandestine scientist, a man who wanted peace in a cabinet whose work forever changed the history of mind control. His legacy remains an open question, a wound, a mystery, and a warning about what humans can become when power surpasses morality. What makes Gottlieb even more unsettling is the number of lesser-known truths hidden in the margins of his life, facts that show just how deeply he influenced the secret architecture of American intelligence. For instance, Gottlieb personally designed and approved dozens of biological delivery systems, including a mechanism to contaminate Fidel Castro's diving suit and a poison pen intended for use by anti-Castro operatives. He also oversaw the creation of a rare toxin derived from shellfish, which the CIA later preserved inside a special dart meant to cause death without leaving any detectable trace. Declassified documents reveal that Gottlieb traveled extensively across Europe, Asia, and India under various aliases, not only to test drugs but to study traditional spiritual practices such as meditation and ritual chanting, because he believed altered states of consciousness could unlock new methods of psychological manipulation. Another disturbing truth is that Gottlieb played a major role in the CIA's secret funding of psychiatric institutions across North America, including the infamous experiments of Dr. Ewan Cameron in Montreal, where patients were subjected to drug-induced comas, electroshock sessions hundreds of times stronger than medical standards, and aggressive sensory deprivation. Gottlieb approved these experiments personally and argued that wiping a mind completely clean could allow the CIA to rebuild it from zero. He also attempted to develop techniques to create real-life sleeper agents, individuals conditioned through trauma, drugs, and hypnosis to obey commands without remembering their programming. Outside the lab, Gottlieb performed covert evaluations of foreign leaders' mental stability and was consulted on how to weaken or destabilize them using psychological warfare rather than physical force. He secretly advised the CIA on plots targeting Patrice Lumumba in Congo and other political figures who were seen as obstacles to American influence during the Cold War. He also established a network of undercover chemists and physicians around the world paid to test substances in prisons, psychiatric hospitals, and military barracks, often without reporting the full extent of the damage caused. Even after leaving the CIA, Gottlieb continued to be summoned privately by federal investigators because he remained the only person who truly understood the full scope of mkultra. During one interrogation, he admitted that he had been granted absolute freedom and that no authority ever questioned his decisions, a confession that shocked the Senate committee and confirmed how unregulated the program had been. Even after leaving the CIA, Gottlieb continued to be summoned privately by federal investigators because he remained the only person who truly understood the full scope of mkultra. During one interrogation, he admitted that he had been granted absolute freedom and that no authority ever questioned his decisions, a confession that shocked the Senate committee and confirmed how unregulated the program had been. What few know is that Gottlieb felt threatened toward the end of his life because some surviving victims of mkultra were preparing new legal actions, and he feared being exposed in ways no previous hearing had revealed. These hidden truths strengthened the enigma around Sidney Gottlieb, a man whose outward simplicity masked one of the darkest and most influential scientific minds in American intelligence history, and whose shadow continues to haunt discussions about ethics, power, and the terrifying possibilities of psychological control.